Peter will be here in just a few moments' time, so we thought we'd take a look at the BP time capsule.
Yes, inside you'll find a cassette so you can record your voice, a camera so people can see what you look like, and a book to write down what you do on a typical day.
Very nice indeed, but now it's time to open the 1971 time capsule in Blue Peter.
Hello and welcome to an important moment in the history of Blue Peter. Today we are going to be revealing the contents of 2 time capsules buried by Blue Peter in the past so that you, the children of the new millennium, could discover something about the programme as it used to be.
It was 29 years ago, on Monday the 7th of June 1971, that the presenters of the time, Valerie Singleton, John Noakes and Peter Purvis, went out of the studio to plant our tree and bury our first box for the year 2000.
That's absolutely tight. Johnny, do you reckon you can come over here and help with the box? It is lead lined. I don't think Val can lift it.
I can't do much more there, actually.
That's tight. Right.
Oh, master mechanic you are with this.
Oh, I am. I thought I was very good with that. Get there.
Right, let's get that rocking for me. There we are.
OK?
There it goes. Oh, beautiful. Right.
Right, I've also got a plaque here. This is the Blue Peter tree planted 7th of June 1971 for the year 2000. So I'm going to push the plant at the front, push that well into the earth like that, and as the earth goes in on top of that, it'll fill it out. And it really
So
does
if
look
you
lovely.
watch the first programme in the year 2000, you'll see this tree. It'll be a magnificent 30 feet high, and that plaque will be just as good as new, I reckon.
Yeah, and by the way, don't you forget it's there. You know it's there, so why not tell your children about it? In the year 2000, they could write in. They might even win a Blue Peter badge for sending an interesting letter, you never know.
And hundreds of Blue Peter viewers have been writing and emailing us to remind us that the great day has arrived.
Some of you have even held onto this classic Blue Peter book, which contains a feature devoted to the box and another all-important reminder.
A little bit later on, we will be welcoming back Val, John and Peter as our VIP guests to help us unveil the contents of that very box. But first, we wondered what the average Blue Peter viewer's life was like back in 1971.
And we decided to send Katie and Simon back in time to find out.
The first thing that you can't help noticing are the clothes. In 1971, flares were all the rage, as they were throughout the 70s. High fashion for men included tight, flowery shirts and big, clumpy shoes, while long hair was popular for both men and women. And if you don't believe me, check out Blue Peter's very own Peter Purvis.
But the real fashion story of the year were hot pants. Yes, they were worn by all the chic chicks, and the higher and tighter the better, and preferably in a nice shiny satin fabric. Oh, lovely. They were so groovy that when it was decided to allow hot pants to be worn in the royal box at Ascot, it was big news.
They certainly didn't need sunglasses at this year's Royal Ascot meeting, but there was still plenty of opening day fashion fun.
And on Blue Peter, Val got busy making her own version of the year's style sensation.
Do you like the fashion? Do you think it's going to catch on?
Yes.
I tell you something, you look marvellous in it, but I don't think I'm ever going to wear them.
Oh, go on, Val. Princess Anne actually made headlines when she refused to wear them in the royal box, or anywhere else for that matter. I tell you what, you have to be careful when you sit down that they don't split.
It was a busy year for the princess, who, as well as being named Sportswoman of the Year, went on safari to Kenya with Blue Peter.
I find still now, when, although I've been doing Blue Peter for quite a long time, but every now and again I still get sort of butterflies in my tummy. Do you find now there are certain things that make you feel a little bit nervous, like perhaps making a speech?
I think practically anything you do, if you stop having nerves, then really, you're not doing the job as well as you ought to be. So I think if you have a fit of nerves, you do that job that bit better.
Yes, I agree with you.
People watch the news on TV just like now, but most people only had black and white sets. Colour was a real luxury, way out of most people's reach. There were only 3 channels to choose from, no satellite and cable, and no video recorders.
There was no children's news programme like Newsround. But there was Vision On, a programme a bit like Smart, presented by Tony Hart, the man who designed our Blue Peter ship.
There was no such thing as CBBC. This is how children's programmes were introduced instead.
Today's story was adapted for television by Paul Stone. Now at the time at 5 to 5, Blue Peter.
Just take all the plates
But
off.
some programmes haven't changed that much at all.
Off you go then. The Juggling Birkins.
The Generation Game started its very first series in 1971, hosted by Bruce Forsyth. Meanwhile, heading for #1 on Top of the Pops as our time capsule was being buried was this little corker, Chirpy Chirpy Cheep Cheep by Middle of the Road.
Do you know, I've always wondered what the words to that song were. And now I know.
Very
I can sing along.
Cheap and cheerful. And if you like music, these compilation LPs or long players were all the rage. Records were your only option because there were no cassettes, CDs or mini discs, and certainly nothing portable.
1971 was an exciting year for Blue Peter, as well as our box for the year 2000 and our Royal Safari. Presenters Val, John and Pete had loads of adventures.
Blue Peter scooped the news in 1971 when John Noakes flew to Italy to report on the eruption of the Mount Etna volcano.
The saddest news of the year was the death of Blue Peter's faithful Patch. His successor on the team, Shep, joined in September and became one of the best loved of all Blue Peter's dogs.
And Peter Purvis saved the life of a Blue Peter cameraman when a filming trip on the River Severn went badly wrong.
If it wasn't for Peter, I wouldn't be here now.
So I was very glad to be able to help Bob, but I was scared stiff for the 2 minutes in the water whilst we waited for the other boat to come up. I really was very frightened indeed.
What a year that was.
We're on fire! We're on fire, so just get the firemen in behind!